One video down, one to go. And boy, this is where things are going to get a little rough here. This is Mega Man NG, and I welcome you guys to part 2 of my Arrowverse crossover review. Yesterday I did parts 1 and 2 covering the episodes of Supergirl and Arrow. Here's a really weird fun fact for you. Last year's crossover happened in the 8th episode of every CWverse show. Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends. And this year it's the same way, and I looked it up. Every 8th episode is always a crossover. I have to wonder why the number 8. I have no idea, but it doesn't really matter to be honest because I'm going to enjoy this for sure. Today we're going to be talking about the second half, which is parts 3 and 4. Those are episodes of The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. And I have a lot to say about this one because I feel that the second half was where things got a lot better. So here's the deal. I'll be providing a summary of it as well as some of the overall thoughts that I have through both parts. Let us get underway with part 3. Where we last left off, the heroes are on Earth X and in imprisonment. On Earth 1, the bad guys are gearing up for an operation so that Overgirl can live at the expense of Kara. Things aren't looking good until some unexpected allies come to their aid. Now it's a fight to save both Earth 1 and Earth X as heroes gather together to send those that threaten it packing. Will they succeed? Whereas the first 2 parts started off rough but had a bit of problems, this one, these 2 parts, they just went go, 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 go. I loved the last 2 parts, especially part 3 we're going to be talking about right now. Part 3 is the best of the 4 parts because you have the cast in a new location, which means it gives them more of an opportunity, more freedom to have a bit of fun. And that's what happens here. Part 3 had them on Earth X imprisoned, and they were ready to get themselves rather beat up or hurt until some unexpected good guys show up. It's the best of them because it has the cast on Earth X trying to find a way to get home, and you have special appearances like Leonard Snart is back. Leonard Snart returns as the Earth X version of Captain Cold, Citizen Cold, and right away his personality here is a complete 180. It's still Leonard Snart, but a different sort altogether, and I really was so ecstatic to see him come back. He is still cold no matter how you look at it. We also get our first appearance of the Ray, played by Russell Tovey, who is also going to be doing voice work for the Ray in an upcoming CW animated special regarding Earth X Freedom Fighters. And I hope to watch that and maybe provide my thoughts on it someday. So how do I put this in the right words regarding both the Ray and Citizen Cold? They were welcome additions for this crossover especially. What surprised me even more is that they have a sort of relationship in which I literally said, "Are you serious?" That's what I thought. Now here's the thing. With part 1 and 2, I shipped Sarah and Sarah and Alex, because, well, the 2 weren't down in the dumps and a little bit of drinking led to a little bit of kissing and a one-night fling. Here, though, Leonard Snart and the Ray, oh, man, that was just a shocker. When I saw it, I was shocked. And I am behind representation, of course, and I like how it was done pretty well. Though it is kind of strange when you put it. But hey, it's alternate universe, so who am I to complain? It is nice to see Leonard Snart again after his passing in Season 1 of Legends, and his little appearance in Season 3 of The Flash in Fantino Street, which was number 2 in my top 5 Flash episodes. And I know when I do one of Season 4, you can pretty much get what this crossover is going to be. But all I will say is that the love plots of the stuff were kept to a minimum, and I am thankful for it because part 2 of the love stuff kind of dampened it. I guess the writers kind of learned their lesson and they pretty much fixed it to make it a lot more better. What we got instead is a whole load of action. Not to mention a bit of infiltration with Oliver Queen going all Metal Gear Solid, having to be in disguise as the big head honcho just to get in so they can access the facility to reach the breach so that way they can get to Earth 1. And we get to see an evil version of the Wave Rider, which you can tell right off the bat is bad. Also, Iris and Felicity get some time to shine as well, and even though they tried, at least it's something else. But it wasn't enough to stop the bad guys, though, and Metallo then shows up, and it all leads up to, I believe, the big battle that will transpire in part 4. But if you guys want to know what my rating is for part 1, I'm giving it a 9.5. This episode screamed awesome. Everything about it was good. The action was great. The humor was pretty there. We got some nice special appearances. There were some emotional moments, and there was intensity all throughout. Especially a bit that I found to be so shocking, I was literally heartbroken when it happened. But that's going to be explained in part 4. Like I said, I'm thankful the love plot stuff were kept to a minimum, and they do end up in Earth 1, and they made it brief, so that way they can focus on the action. So overall, my rating for part 3 is a 9.5 out of 10. I could have made it a perfect 10, but I think it did have some hiccups. There's nothing wrong with it, I just found the episode to be pretty good. Oh, and Red Tornado makes an appearance, and Barry and the Ray had to take it down. Which I will admit was, I feel, one of the best things about the episode. And one of my favorite lines from Barry was what Leonard Snart said to him in Season 3. Make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan, to which Earth X Leonard Snart goes and says, "That's how you do it? I'm disappointed." Well, that's what you get, because Earth 1 Snart actually would rely on that sort of thing. And I would rely on it too. I would make a plan, execute it, expect the plan to go off the rails, and if that doesn't work, I throw away the plan and improvise. That's me for you in a nutshell. So now we move on to the conclusion, part 4. Whereas part 1 started off great, part 2 had a bit of a rough ride. Part 3 really excelled. Part 4, despite some issues, it was truly awesome and truly was an amazing end to a great crossover. It was action heavy, yes, but it had a lot of emotion, and the emotion, you have no idea how heartbroken I was when I saw what happened. Before I do, this episode also marks the final appearance of Victor Garber, the actor who portrayed Professor Martin Stein, one half of Firestorm. Yeah, this is his last appearance, and I know he's departing from the show, but how he handled his death, the writers handled his death, they did it with a lot of care, respect, emotion, and a lot of heartbreak. And trust me, I was literally about to burst into tears when Professor Stein gave up his own life to give the Earth 1 heroes a chance to go home. And yeah, goes to show that this guy wasn't going to give up fighting. He would fight to the bitter end. And believe me, I was praising him. And then we realized that, yeah, since he was connected to Jefferson Jackson, aka Firestorm, it affects him too. So Professor Stein had to do the unthinkable, and I swear, Jax was like crying through the whole way through, and I was shocked. I didn't want him to go down. But it had to be done in order to save Jax, which means it's also the end of Firestorm. I don't really know what's going to happen afterwards, because I am a bit shocked, a bit saddened, because I really, really hope that we will see more Firestorm again. It makes me sad even more that Firestorm didn't take part in the final battle compared to last year, especially with the passing of Professor Stein. It was just a heartbreaking moment, and seeing Jax give them the bad news, it was the worst. And the end scene with the funeral, it was done beautifully well. Every single member of the entire group paid their respects to him. In a way, they are like family to him, and it is just so emotional, so well done, that even now I'm still hurting. Victor Garber, you really delivered as the professor. We are saddened that you left the show, but I am thankful that you gave us an amazing character, an amazing performance. And his death was done rather well, and I appreciate that all the same. I really mean it. It was good. The episode was great despite this, and it had the right amount of action, humor. There was plenty of humor, especially a little bit of trivia with some of the lines that Cisco and Wells played. Like when Cisco was piloting the Raid Rider, it was like saying, it's like playing Star Raiders on Atari, except it's real. And Harrison Wells was like, cut the chatter, Red 2. I personally feel that Earth 2 Wells and Cisco are nerds. Are pure 100% nerds. They're nerds, and it shows. Not to mention the big final battle was excellent. We got to see like multiple fights happening. You have all the others taking down the Mooks, Oliver taking down the Dark Archer, Supergirl battling Overgirl, and Flash taking on Eobard. Which brings up to one of my gripes. Barry. I know that Barry Allen is a hero, and heroes don't resort to doing the unthinkable, but why Barry didn't kill Eobard yet again? It's something I can never understand. It's just something that Barry doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to do the unthinkable. He doesn't want to be forced, because remember, he already had to deal with speedsters enough that it's already given him a pain in the butt. And yet, there's still the matter of the Thinker, which surprisingly enough, The Thinker has not appeared in the crossover. This is actually the first time he never appeared. The same for Jesse L. Martin, too. I wonder why. He appeared in part 1, but he didn't appear for any of the others, which is kind of sad. But either way, that does make up for the fact that, well, the episode was great. I still feel that Barry could have at least taken them down. But personally, I feel that since Eobor Thawne can be a bit of a mess because he created time remnants of himself, they were necessary to stabilize the timeline. And even though he went down in Season 2 of Legends, I personally felt that the Eobor Thawne that we saw is in fact the Time Remnant. A version of Eobor Thawne who went to Earth X. I don't really know, to be honest, but I felt that him living probably was a necessity because it was needed to stabilize the timeline, because if one Time Remnant were to go down, it can literally screw things up. I could be wrong. And yet Oliver killed his Earth X self without provocation or hesitation. He did it anyway, and that surprised me. But what can you do, honestly? What can you do? So yeah, overall the crossover was great. And the ending was kind of emotional. Not only was there one wedding, but two. And there's a reason I don't like Oliver and Felicity. That was another gripe. Why Oliver and Felicity had to get married? I do not like Olicity, honestly. And Olicity pretty much was one of the reasons why I no longer watched Arrow. But hey, at least it turned out for a happy ending, I guess. What can you do, honestly? After everything that has happened, it needs to at least be something more heartwarming. So, it turned out to be great. My final verdict for Part 4, the conclusion, is an 8.5. It had a bit of hiccups, but it was amazing all throughout. And even though some of the emotional stuff was some of the best I've seen, and did dampen the episode down, but it didn't make up for the fact that the episode was great. And I really loved it big time. I really did enjoy it. If I were to compare which is the best, I would say that Part 3 is without a doubt the best of the 4 parts. Part 2 is probably the worst because the love plots bogged it down. At least the writers learned their lesson and made a crossover that was truly better than last year. In fact, Crisis on Earth X is the best CW-verse crossover ever. Way better than Heroes vs. Aliens. I mean it. It was way better and I enjoyed it big time. But I want to ask you, what do you guys think? Which parts do you consider the best or the worst? Let me know in the comments what you think. And that is pretty much going to be it for this Arrowverse crossover review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to hit the like button. It really does mean a lot to me. Next week will be the mid-season finale of The Flash, and then no new episodes until January, meaning that I can get a well-needed break. And yeah, all of this was pretty fun to do, and I hope that next year's crossover will probably be better. This is Mega Man NJ signing off. Peace out.